So you're curious about Lewisville, Texas, and you're wondering if Lewisville, Texas is going to be a good place to live? Well, you've come to the right channel. So I want to talk about the four, what we're going to call values or pillars that my clients mostly feel are important to them when they're looking to buy a home in a particular area. I want to dive into each particular one for the city of Lewisville, Texas today. Also, just to note, every single client that I talk to is pretty unique. They all have different ideas on what's important to them and what's going to be their highest priority. So when I do name them, it really doesn't mean that it's going to be the most important thing for you or that you need to choose, just that I'm going to be discussing it first. And the first one that I want to talk about is going to be the location. Now, I'm sure you've heard the saying in real estate, location, location, location. It is true, it does matter. That can really mean a lot of different things, though, for different people. So, since we are talking at a city level here, it's going to be really about where exactly is Lewisville, Texas, where is its proximity to shopping and activities, and how close might it be to your work and so on. So, where exactly is Lewisville, Texas? Well, if you're looking at the map, you can see that Lewisville is about 25 miles to the northwest of downtown Dallas. This is actually a really great location for having access to freeways, the airport, lakes, and also lots of different shopping options. You can get to tons of shopping quite easily from the city of Lewisville. You can head over to Frisco, to Grapevine, and it really does make it easy to get to a lot of the areas that you might need to go to for commuting for work. Your commute would likely be less than an hour for the most part, and that's even if you have to sit in rush hour traffic to get to downtown Dallas if you had to. And you can also get to a lot of the other necessities that you might want to go and see and do within about 30 minutes. Now, the I-35 freeway does run north and south through the city of Lewisville. Also, you have access to the 121 freeway on the south end of Lewisville, and that's going to get you headed right over to the Frisco Plano area and even over to the airport, Arlington, and off over into even South Lake. Now, Lewisville is actually a fairly large city, and it's about 37 square miles. And of course, it is right next to Lewisville Lake and multiple different nature preserves if you like being outside and enjoying nature here in the Dallas, Texas area. So, location wise, Lewisville, Texas does have an awful lot going for it. Like I said, if you are still the kind of person who likes to do their shopping in person, maybe you don't always like to buy everything off Amazon, there are going to be multiple places that you can go that are actually quite close to Lewisville. There is the Frisco Stonebriar Mall. You have Grapevine Mills. You have the whole area over in Grandscape in the Colony, as well as just right there in Plano in the Legacy West area if you want a little bit more higher end shopping. So not only do you have Lewisville Lake just minutes away, which is a fairly large lake here in North Texas, but you also have Grapevine Lake that's fairly close to you as well. And if you are living in Lewisville, there's going to be so many trails and parks. And if your kids play sports, the sporting program that run through the city of Lewisville are actually huge and very heavily involved with not only the kids from the city of Lewisville, but also some of those surrounding cities also. So if you do need to jump on a flight, for example, and you need to find a way to get over to the DFW airport, that's going to be about a 15 to 20 minute drive. And if maybe you're like my parents and you only want to fly Southwest, to get down to Love Field in Dallas, that could take you around 30 to 40 minutes. Now, one other point that I do want to mention is about our public transportation system. We don't have the most extensive public transportation options compared to some of the other cities here in the US, but we do have the DART system, and this is actually available in Lewisville with the A train and a few other connections that will actually get down to the Dallas area and even over to the airport. Not that it's really kind of the most convenient form of transportation out there, but if it's important to you, if you need it, it could be a possibility for you. So, why exactly would Lewisville be considered a bad location? Well, if you do need to commute to work, maybe you work south, like past the downtown area of Dallas, it might not be the best option. Of course, if you do like driving, you don't mind long commutes, well, more power to you. But also, even heading over on the west side of Fort Worth or even in the far east, southeast side of Dallas, Lewisville is just really might not be that conducive to commuting. But overall, I will give Lewisville a fairly good grade for the location. And I am going to say, as always, that you're going to have to decide for yourself if that's going to be a fit for you. So it really does depend here in Dallas, just because Our Dallas-Fort Worth metro is so big, you don't want to pick the wrong place. Now, if there is anything else that I missed about the location of Lewisville that you want me to mention that I didn't say, feel free to leave your comments down below because that always helps other people who might be watching this. Now, before we move on, I just want to make sure that you actually know who I am. If you are new here to the channel, my name is Kristen Carpentier, and I am a local real estate agent here in the Dallas metro area. I love providing you with the information that you need so you can decide if moving here to Dallas, Texas is right for you. So if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to my information that I have right down below. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you like this content. All right, now let's move on to number 2, and that's going to be safety. Is Lewisville, Texas a safe place to live? Well, this is, of course, super important to most people who are considering a move to a particular city. So I'm going to dive into the crime statistics, where I am going to share some information from a few different sources that reference the FBI and other crime statistic sources. So as you can see from the map of Lewisville, it's fairly large and pretty spread out. Crime often seems to be concentrated in different particular areas, which of course can skew the numbers for the entire city. So if you want to know more in depth about a particular area, then by all means, make sure you do your research. However, this should give you an idea of the overall crime of the city. So let's look at one resource that I do like to look at, and that's going to be bestplaces.net. When looking at 2024 and comparing Lewisville, Dallas, and the US average. So on a scale of 1 to 100, the lower numbers are going to mean low crime rates. Violent crime in Lewisville has a rating of 16.7, while Dallas is a 37 and the US average is 22.7. Property crime in Lewisville has a rank of 35.4, with Dallas at 50.7 and the US average of 35.4 as well. So from this, you can see it's less violent than Dallas and the US overall. Now, Neighborhood Scout is another one I like to use to gauge the safety of a city. They use 18,000 local law enforcement and data released by the FBI in October 23, in case you're wondering where that came from. So as I mentioned earlier, crime can be concentrated. So they provided a map indicating what they called the safest Lewisville area neighborhoods. So if you want to look further into that, that may be a place for you to kind of get started to do your research. But looking at the data, they use a 1 to 100 scale as well, with 100 being the safest, so it is opposite of the other source. Lewisville, Texas gets a rating of a 19, meaning that it's safer than 19% of U.S. neighborhoods. Violent crime for Lewisville is 2.55 crimes per 1,000 residents, while the Texas average is 4.3, and nationally it is at a 4. So Lewisville, Texas would indicate it's overall safer than Texas and U.S. averages. Now, property crime for Lewisville has a 19.17 crimes per 1,000 residents, with Texas having a 23 and US at 20 per 1,000 on average. So again, slightly lower than Texas and the US averages. So hopefully this is going to help you understand a little bit better about the crime and safety of Lewisville and how it compares to Dallas and the overall crime statistics. Now, if you do want to understand a little bit more about how I lay out these different city videos, after a lot of years as a realtor in both Phoenix and now in Dallas, I have talked to so many different people about what's important to them when they're looking to buy a home. So these categories are really kind of meant to show you how each of these particular topics stack up, and in this case, how Lewisville, Texas stacks up with these particular topics. And topic number 3 that we're going to move into is going to be talking about the community. So when I am talking about the community, this is going to lump all kinds of information into it. I'll talk about the demographics and the politics to kind of give you an idea of who makes up the community and if it sounds like it might be the right fit for you and your family. Again, there is no right answer here. Everyone has their own preferences and opinions, of course, and we allow that on my channel. So let's dive into a little bit of the demographics from the U.S. Census resources to give you an idea of who makes up the residents in Lewisville, Texas. Now, when we look at the population first, as of the 2020 census, Lewisville, Texas has a population of just over 126,000 residents. And the current population is estimated to be at about 139,000 residents. So that's going to be about a 10.1% increase since 2020. Now, in order to dive into some more of the recent numbers on several categories using the U.S. Census 2022 ACS 5-year survey, for race, we can see that the race makeup of Lewisville is pretty diverse, as you can see from the chart. So while it is predominantly white, there are many races and cultures that make up the entire city of Lewisville. Now, when we're looking at the place of birth for the residents, 79% of Lewisville residents were born in the US. A lot of them were born in the area. And I kind of say this only because I have quite a few friends that I have met, and I've been really surprised to hear that they were born and raised right in the Lewisville area and they're still around here. So, does anybody really stay where they grew up anymore? So, surprisingly, that's kind of a high number. 47% of the residents were born here in Texas, 21% were foreign born, 11.8% are non citizens, with the largest portion being from Latin America, which is at 49.2%. And those are going to be followed by Asia at 41.8%. And 9.2% are naturalized citizens, which is the largest portion being of Asian origin at 55.7%, followed by Latin America at 34.2%. Now, as we're going to look into the languages that are spoken in Lewisville for all ages in Lewisville, Texas, 66.7% of the Lewisville residents speak only English. 33.3% speak other languages, with Spanish making up 19.7% of the other languages that are spoken in Lewisville. Now, as we're talking about the age of residents, with about 95,000 adults in Lewisville, the average age is at about 34.2 years old. And as typically happens, the women outnumber the men, 51.8% women to 48.3% men, which of course we love winning. Now, when we're looking at the marriage rate in Lewisville, Texas, 48.4% of the residents are married, with about 34.8% of the residents having never been married. So the remainder would be widowed, divorced, or separated. Okay, on to education. If we do look at the highest level of education of the residents, the women are leading the ranks in this category as well, as in many of the categories. Again, women like winning. It's just what we like to do. Now, 13% have graduate degrees, 27% have a bachelor's degree, 22% have some college, and 20% are high school graduates. Finally, let's look at the income of the residents of Lewisville, Texas. The median household income in Lewisville is $82,000 per year. For families, the median income is just over $98,000 per year. For married couples, the median income is around $117,000 per year. And for non-families, the median income is about $58,000 per year. So this hopefully can give you a gauge of how much you need to make if you want to live in Lewisville, Texas. And speaking of employment rate, in the city of Lewisville, it has an employment rate of 72.9% for the residents employed over the age of 16. 3.8% is the unemployment rate that is currently noted for the city of Lewisville. Now we want to discuss a little bit more about the cost of living in the city of Lewisville. If we're looking quickly at payscale.com, if you are moving from, let's say, Los Angeles, California to Lewisville, Texas, nationally, Lewisville has about a 6% higher cost of living, which they noted utilities and housing as being the categories that are higher than the national average. If you made, let's say, $100,000 in Los Angeles, you would be able to live in Lewisville, Texas for $70,629, which is about 29.4% lower. So again, this is all publicly available information from the U.S. Census, and hopefully it's going to give you a better idea of the community and who the people are who make it up. Now, finally, we are going to get into politics as well. It's important to a lot of people that I've talked to that are considering moving here to Texas, as it can really kind of affect their policies, the schools, taxes, and the overall values of a community and what is prioritized. So it can be pretty important to some people. When we're looking at the 2020 election by precinct, Lewisville, Texas would be considered more liberal, as you can see from the map, with the largest concentration of liberal voters right next to I-35 and above FM 3040 that's indicated. While most of the conservative areas of Lewisville are bordering Flower Mound, Texas, and Highland Village, Texas, as you can see also on our map. But of the 19 precincts in Lewisville, Texas, 6 leaned Republican and 13 of them actually leaned Democrat. Again, this can play a major factor in public policy, taxes, schools, and other quality of life issues. So don't discard it, but consider it in your overall decision-making factors, and if you and your family actually might have similar views. All right, on to pillar number 4, value number 4, most importantly, number 4 for you, if that's what you're thinking, and that's going to be the schools. With home buyer demand, it can be a really big indicator, not only in Dallas, but most areas of the country, on the quality of education and school ratings. There are several resources that you can use to get a feel for how the schools in an area are performing. We have greatschools.org and niche.com, which are pretty well known. And again, these are not the absolute authority on how the schools may be in a particular area. They're just something to give you a gauge on how they're performing compared to others in the area. But time and time again, you're going to see in the Dallas area, the cities with the highest school districts typically will appreciate value more than another city who does not have as high of school ratings. So even if you don't have kids, maybe you never want kids, maybe your kids have grown up and moved out, it will play a factor in the price of a home you're looking to buy or the appreciation of the home that you currently own. So looking at the niche.com at the Lewisville Independent School District, you can see that it does get an overall grade of an A, which is great. And there's some great schools in the Lewisville ISD, and the district does get good grades in most of its categories. The Lewisville Independent School District does have 7 high schools, 16 middle schools, and 41 elementary schools. And when we're looking at the student to teacher ratio, it is shown to be 14-1, which is better than the 17-1 national average. And financially, the district expense per student is just over $17,000, with the national average being around $12,000. So when we're looking at a closer level, you can see the schools within Lewisville, Texas, which is in the middle of the map, do not seem to receive as high of grades as many of the other schools within the district. And now, if we're looking at how niche.com does rank the schools, they indicate they look at 5 different metrics: the academic grades based on state assessments and survey responses from students and parents, the teacher grade based on the teacher salary, teacher absenteeism, state test results and surveys, the district overall grade for the academic and student life data along with reviews, the culture and diversity grade based on racial and economic diversity in surveys, and finally, parent-student surveys, niche surveys responses that are scored on a 1 to 5 scale. So if this is important to you, then make sure to look into it further. I'm just simply sharing public information. And if you live in Lewisville and attend the schools or have kids that do, please leave a comment below on what your experiences might have been going to the schools in Lewisville, because there might be some other people who might be interested in living in the area and knowing what that's like. All right. Now, when we're looking back at these 4 categories, of course, most people would love to live in cities that have the highest ratings in all of them. But let's be honest, not everyone can afford to live just anywhere they want to live in the Dallas area. So you do need to break it down for yourself and decide what is most important to you and your family, and maybe make a few compromises here and there if your affordability doesn't allow you to live in some of the areas that might be in higher demand, or if the location isn't really ideal. But those 4 main factors are what's often talked about with me that kind of drives someone to make decisions when buying a home. And of course, prioritize and weigh which ones are the most important to them and their families. So hopefully this kind of helped you in terms of those different aspects. And of course, there is one more elephant in the room, and that's going to be the cost of the home that you are looking to buy and how much you can afford. As you can imagine, these are cities that rank really high in all of the 4 pillars that we noted above. Unfortunately, for many, where affordability is an issue, that can be a little bit of a problem. The cities with the highest rated school districts, the lowest crime rates, great locations, strong communities tend to have the highest price tags as well. You just kind of need to look at places, something like maybe Frisco, Southlake, and Highland Park to kind of understand a little bit more about this. So what is the real estate market in Lewisville, Texas like? Well, that's a great question, and time to dive in. All right, now as always, I do like looking at real estate from a pretty high level. The median sales price for all property types in January of 2024 for Lewisville, Texas is right at about $420,000. And this is up 2.4% from January of 2023. For just single family homes, the median sales price is $422,000, and condo and townhomes indicate a median sales price of $415,000. When we're looking at resale homes, the median sales price is $405,000, while new construction homes have a median sales price of $511,000. And just looking quickly at some rentals that are active and that have been leased in the last 6 months, you can rent a tiny home or a condo for as little as $875, and you can rent a home upwards of $5,500 a month in the city of Lewisville. And when we're looking at some price points in Lewisville, we're going to kind of break it down based on the age of the home. The homes that were built between 1990 and 2000, they run between $315,000 for a home under 1,600 square feet with 2 to 3 bedrooms, up to $750,000 for a larger 3,000 plus square foot home. And then when we look at newer homes, things kind of jump up just a little bit. For homes built between 2001 to 2010, you're looking at a range of about $340,000 for a 3-bed, 2-bath home under 2,000 square feet. And those prices go up to over $1.7 million in some of the more exclusive areas to the east, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more here in just a second. Now, the last group that I do want to talk about are what we're going to call the newer homes. These are the homes built between 2011 to 2024. These homes range from $305,000 to $3.8 million. And now all these numbers I'm going to pull up are coming straight out of our local MLS, just to kind of give you an idea firsthand of what we're seeing in our market. Now, the community that I do want to feature and talk about today is the community of Castle Hills. It's kind of one of the most unique and exclusive areas of Lewisville, and pretty desirable, and kind of like its own little master planned community that kind of has everything that you need right in it. The community of Castle Hills has actually been around since 1998, and it's a 2,900 acre master plan community that has over 4,300 homes in it. It's evolved kind of over the years, and it's really kind of a great community where you can live, you can work, you can play, and you can do everything that you want all within your own community. And what a lot of people like about Castle Hills is that even though it's been building homes since 1998, there's actually still some new construction sections being built as well. There's also a luxury gated custom home community right within the middle of Castle Hills called Enchanted Hill. It has estate home sites with some amazing views. They overlook the golf course, and that particular section actually has its own private park and trails, and it really has this beautiful formal garden in the middle of it too. So it's absolutely beautiful. And the community of Castle Hills, it does also have its own elementary school within the community, and it does feed into Hebron High School, which is one of the newer high schools here in the Lewisville, Texas area. Now, it does also have 2 community centers with a fitness center, tennis courts, swimming pools, and it even has a party room that you can rent out. And it has over 20 parks within the Castle Hills community, and it does host tons of events for its residents and the surrounding community. And if you're not quite ready to buy a home yet, but you love the location, they have some luxury apartments as well as luxury homes for rent that you can rent right there within Castle Hills. And the prices of home in Castle Hills range from the mid $600,000 range upwards of $3.9 million for a new construction, custom built 10,000 square foot home in the Enchanted Hills neighborhood. Just to give you an idea of what you can expect to spend in this particular area of Lewisville. Now, we have covered a lot of information, given you all the stats and all the details about what it's like living in Lewisville, where it's located. So if you do have any more questions about Lewisville, Texas, or you're considering a move here to the Dallas, Texas area, reach out. That's what I'm here for. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. We put a lot of time and effort into these and hoping that it will help people. Also, if you want to learn more about another city in the area that's getting some really high ratings, that is also part of the Lewisville Independent School District, check out this video about living in Flower Mound, Texas. And until next time, take care.